Hello friends, how are you? It's been a while. Today is actually Thursday the 16th of August 2018. It's disgustingly humid. It's like 100% humidity out right now. It feels like it's 100 degrees. It's been a scorcher for the last 2 weeks. No rain. It's driving me nuts. Let's go show you the garden. So before I go into the garden, I wanted to show you, this is our Macintosh Apple. This was a bare root plant last year in 2017, and I took a picture 1 year ago where I was squatting down to how much it had grown over the summertime. And now here I am, and I'm just a couple inches taller than the top point, which is pretty cool. So it's doubled in height over 2 years, or in just the course of this 1 year, and it's come really nicely. Really liking my fruit trees here. Sorry for my sweet attire. I got my white undershirt. I had to look fancy a little bit earlier, and I just wanted to throw on something short sleeves and shorts for the garden tour. So let's look over here. All right, I'm going to put you here by the trellis of goodies because I just think it's such a pretty picture right now. You can see we've got all sorts of things going. I've got pumpkins and gourds that are starting to turn ripe. Over here is we've got beans that are way past picking, and I've got these wonderful crawling flowers, which have done exactly what I wanted them to do insofar as, look at that, they're starting to finally crawl up here on the trellis. Isn't that cool? I think that's just lovely. Can't wait to see how that looks as the months continue to progress on. So I made a silly mistake. I planted, in comparison to years past, I probably planted about a quarter as many pole beans as I had in the past. And I've just been negligent. I haven't harvested actually a single one. They've all just gone dry like this. I mean, there are a few, they keep coming. There are a few that I could pick off and actually eat. But essentially what I need to do now is just pull all of these dead ones off, and this will send out energy into the plant and tell it to do another wave of plants, because it's supposed to keep flowering until the cold snap. So that's what happens when I get negligent. But what I need to do, which you'll see pretty much throughout the garden, is I need to trim off a lot of the summer growth, and I need to start planting for my fall garden now, except by now I mean in like a week or two, because, you know, Bridget's due date is tomorrow, so our first kid is literally going to be here within days. Well, isn't this a pretty scene? I've got a lot of things going on. You can see there's plenty of red tomatoes around here, tiny little cherry tomatoes, and my red, just normal they're not beefsteak or Roma tomatoes, they're just normal red tomatoes like you cut up in BLTs and such. I harvested a ton of them, like you saw in that picture before. We're going to get them sliced up and frozen and, you know, ready to go in other recipes. I've had a ton of zucchini on this one plant alone. I think I've had over 10 by now. I've got another little one right here, and there's one over there. If you remember last year, those of you who have been here long enough, I had some horrible squash vine bugs. Ugly ass suckers. They only attacked this squashy plant before I could, you know, fix them. I saw some on all of the vining plants in the big arch, but I got to them beforehand. I remembered I was looking on the bottom sides of the leaves for those eggs, and when I'd find the leaves that had the eggs on them, I just tore the leaves off and I threw them away. But you can go at it with some double-sided sticky tape and get rid of them. Either way, I was very glad I was more proactive, at least on that this year, so I don't have a lot of my viney things just rotting and dying and all these little horrible, hideous plants all around. So, like this behind me, this is the old broccoli that I just let go to flower. I just need to cut this down and compost it. These are weeds, you know, I need to pull the weeds and throw them in the weed pile. Eventually go through this a little bit more. Unfortunately, because of where I planted the zucchini, it killed half of the celery that I had, and the other half just doesn't seem to be doing well. In fact, it looks like somebody hopped up here and ate one of them, so we're not going to have celery this year. That's okay. Over on this end, things are a little bit more well kept. I've got a ton of basil there that I can harvest so we can have some pesto over the winter time. I've got a lot of beautiful little flowers on the green peppers that came after I harvested the first wave of green peppers. So I know in another several weeks we'll have some great big ones. You can kind of see right here, I got another one that's just under the size of my fist. And I can count a little over a dozen between all these 6 plants, which is great. They just keep producing. Potatoes are about ready to be picked. I never did publish my part 2 video. Oh well, I'll probably publish part 2 and part 3 at the same time. That'll be good references for next year. And then the spaghetti squash looks kind of sad. You know, you just see how flaccid the vine is. It didn't get infected with any sort of insects. I think, honestly, it's just been this gross heat. Seriously, we've had no rain for 2 weeks, and I haven't done anything because, you know, the gardens, I've made it to be pretty resilient, and it's done a pretty good job. But the spaghetti squash has been an unfortunate victim. I'm letting this one grow a little bit larger. Same with this guy over here. I did just harvest 2 other ones, and they look quite lovely. So we're looking forward to eating them. You know, make some spaghetti squash, boil up some of my own tomatoes, and it's a meal straight from the garden. Well, this has been interesting. So we've got the corn here, the popcorn, which is of course ridiculously tall. Let me back this up just to give you a reference here. How about I straighten it out? Cool. So can you even see the top of the tassels? There's the top of the tassels. And here's your 6'5" host. So they definitely outshine me, which is pretty cool, you know. But that's about where their coolness ends, unfortunately. It's safe to say that some squirrels or whatnot, you know, were here along the fence line around me, and they hopped on here and climbed up. What few corns I actually had are eaten at the tops. It's really disappointing. I was expecting it to be better. So I'm going to try again next year, of course. But I'll have to do something different to counteract all this. Bummer. I'll bring the camera over so you can see what an eaten piece of corn looks like. So here's where I really need your help. Anybody who's grown corn before, what the heck do I do? You know, look at this. It's just kind of sad and consumed, like entirely consumed. See that? I don't know what to do. I mean, for the rest of this year, of course, I'm just going to let these plants be, and they'll dry up like they are on the bottom, and there'll be some pretty neat husks for decoration, but I would have liked to have had my own popcorn. So, I wanted to show you these pretty cool sunflowers here. I have no idea what type these orange ones are, but there's almost, oh, he just flew away. There's almost always somebody pollinating it. He's over here. Let's see if we can get him. You see him up top there? Come on, buddy. Yeah. It's like a nature documentary. But bees all around. Usually it's bumblebees. I think that's a mason bee. That's what I'd categorize it as, mason bee. I'm no bee expert, but I think bumbles and masons are both solitary bees as opposed to like honeybees, which are hive animals. But we get quite a lot of them. But aside from that delicious sunflower, just take a look at the mammoth back there. It's taller than the other corn was, so nice and tall, and there's a head that should be forming on there soon. Here's the real story of hope. By the time Bridget is through with labor and we're back home, all of these raspberries are going to be ready to go. So some of these raspberries are just starting to get ripe. Like if I bring you over here and refocus, you can see we got some dark red ones on the left and the right side of the screen. But as we zoom towards the middle more, you can see the majority of them are still not ready. But soon, this is all just going to be full. It really is a cool sight to behold, because you're out here and you can see these distinctively dark red raspberries on top of all of this green leafy goodness. I'll take you inside the trellis in just a moment, but first off we're going to start on the outside because I've got 2 pretty massive pumpkins which I'm glad they decided to form relatively on the bottom. So there's number 1, and number 2 is on the ground right there. Right down there. It's not as big as the first one, but I'm excited to see them going. It's just starting to get that oranginess on the very top. See that? It'll be turning orange before I know it, which is way early for pumpkins. Note to self, I can plant them a little bit later in succession next year, but it's been a good learning experience. Let's look at the inside. I figured I'd focus you up high. I think you should still be able to see me here. Don't worry, this isn't garrote wire for you Russian historians. Anyways, I reinforced the trellis, which was very beneficial. This is twist tie material like you'd have at the grocery store in your grocery bags, and it's definitely helped keep things like this pumpkin here and this tasty looking gourd here and these ornamentals from going crazy. I should probably bring you in here too, but I've got half a dozen really sizable, beautiful ornamentals, a few of these coconuts, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think they're supposed to turn a different shade, not this dark color, but I'm not entirely certain. So those might be ready to harvest soon. The ornamentals, obviously I can pop off anytime. They last for like ever, which is pretty cool. And I think I can fry them up too, although I'm not entirely certain. They are really very pretty. And I've still got flowers that are forming, so this has been a fun experiment. I'm definitely going to grow things in this arch trellis next year, but not pumpkins. Pumpkins were a bad choice. These can hold the form of the ornamentals just fine, and even these medium-range squashes, great. And like the cantaloupes over here, no problem. But pumpkins, bad choice. Well, my friends, that about does it for me. I'm going to close off and eat some of these early raspberries that are already done, and put the camera away, and if I don't come back out and pick the rest of the raspberries for my pregnant wife, I'm going to hear it. So, the next time you hear from me will be a little while. I'm going to hope to get like a quick run through next week. I don't know when. I'd say a regular video in probably 2 or 3 weeks. Don't know how long we'll, be in the hospital, but thanks for the well wishes. We're excited for the baby. You know, I told Bridget she's been doing such a good job growing the baby this year. You know, I grow a garden, she's been growing a baby. She's done a wonderful job. So thank you for everybody who's asked throughout the course of this summer. And why don't you tell me what's growing in your garden? As always, I love hearing about it. If you have suggestions for what I should do for my corn, either for the rest of this year or for next year, I'd love to hear it. And pretty soon when things settle down, you know, like into September, we'll definitely be talking a lot about the fall succession, the fall garden. And you'll see things start to, tidy up as I just get rid of some of this summer overgrowth and compost it and everything else. So, as always, thanks for watching. Happy gardening, happy woodworking. And until next time, bye-bye.